Hi, I'm Jeff Tyson, the head of environmental research and analytics at Waste Analytics, and today I'm going to explain what drilling waste is and how it's generated. My goal is to give you a little bit better understanding of our waste data so that you can better and more efficiently utilize our information. We'll have other videos and content that describe how it's managed, including some of the potential environmental effects it can have. So I'd like you to go ahead and invite you to follow our channel so that you can get instant access to that other content as soon as it's available. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us directly at info@wasteanalyticsllc.com. What is drilling waste? The technical definition of drilling waste is the rock cuttings and the residual fluids that are generated from drilling a wellbore into the subsurface. Let's break that down a bit. Most of us are familiar with the concept of drilling a hole into a piece of wood, and I'm sure you can all imagine the sawdust or the shavings that are created as the hole is drilled. These tiny pieces of wood are essentially cuttings that are expelled from the hole. Now imagine this on a much larger scale, but instead of wood, we're drilling into the earth. The cuttings are the soil and rock particles that have been cut using the drill bit. When a wellbore is drilled, we're cutting through thousands and in some cases tens of thousands of feet of earth and rock, and in most cases we're drilling through different strata. So by the time the well is drilled, what we have is a mixture of cuttings from each of the various strata that we drilled through, along with any potential contaminants from those various layers. So that's what the cuttings are, but what about the drilling fluids? Going back to our example of drilling through a piece of wood, we don't use a drilling fluid because we're drilling a very shallow hole, and we generally use drill bits that are shaped and designed to help expel the cuttings from the hole itself. As that bit spins, the cuttings are directed upwards through the grooves in the drill bit and to the surface of the hole. But imagine if we were trying to drill into sand on the beach, for example. That wouldn't work very well. We might get some cuttings up to the surface of the hole, but more sand would keep falling back into the hole, and eventually we'd get down to a point where we simply couldn't drill anymore because we'd have too much friction and torque, and we wouldn't be pushing those cuttings or pulling those cuttings back up to the surface. The hole would continue to cave in on itself when we remove the drill bit. So when drilling into the earth, we use what's known as a drilling mud or a drilling fluid. Now, drilling mud has several purposes in oil and gas drilling, including cooling and lubricating the drill bit, controlling sloughing and wellbore intrusion, and counteracting some of the formation pressure. For the purposes of this discussion, drilling fluid is used to carry the cuttings up to the surface of the hole and clean the wellbore. In this example, we can see a very simple graphic of a drilling fluid system where the fluid is pumped down the drill pipe to the drill bit where it mixes with the cuttings. Here's an example of what the bottom of a drill bit looks like, and you can see the various ports where the drilling fluid comes out. So the cuttings are carried by the fluid all the way back up to the surface, and the mixture of mud and cuttings then goes through some form of mechanical separation process called solids control, where the fluid is then reused back down the wellbore, and the solids and any fluid that remains on the solids is what we call drilling waste. Again, drilling waste is the rock cuttings and the residual fluids that are generated from drilling a wellbore into the subsurface. Just like the cuttings themselves can vary in composition as we drill through different strata, drilling fluids can also vary in composition, from a simple water-clay mixture to an extremely complex invert emulsion with a whole litany of drilling fluid additives. There are two main types of drilling fluids that can be broken down into either water-based fluids or oil-based fluids. Water-based fluids are often touted as more environmentally friendly than oil-based fluids. However, they often contain large amounts of salts and other chemicals that can potentially cause pollution to groundwater. Oil-based fluids are drilling fluids where the majority of the liquid phase is in oil. Oftentimes, diesel is used as the base oil when drilling on land, but synthetic oils are also used, particularly in offshore drilling. I hope I've been able to provide you with a deeper understanding of what drilling waste is and how it's generated. And once again, I encourage you to visit our channel where you can find additional content regarding our data products and more educational materials about the waste that we cover.